Good morning, everybody. I'm Larry Jacobs. This is Pre-K-12 Education Talk Radio, and it's October 26, 2023. And today we've got our good friends from Learning Ally here. You can learn about this wonderful nonprofit at learningally.org. And I do suggest you go over there. They're celebrating 75 years in service to education and children with learning challenges this year. So please check it out over at learningally.org. We got one of their wonderful officers, Vice President of Educator Initiatives for Learning Ally, Dr. Terry Noland, is back with us today. She's always wonderful. She's the host of their podcast called Spotlight on Dyslexia and Spotlight on Early Literacy. And that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today is literacy, not only in general, but specifically for dyslexic kids, how many of the people this affects, and how they actually learn and how we can teach them. Okay, we know a lot about it these days. Terry knows even more than most of us. She's going to tell us everything she knows from everything they've said. And for some reason, Terry has disconnected here. We're just going to bring her on, and suddenly she's disconnected. I don't know what's going on. There she is. She's back now. Okay, please go over to ace-ed.org. That's our home website. See everything we do over there, and we will be archiving this podcast over there. Terry, I thought I lost you for a minute. It's Larry here.
Well, you did lose me for a minute, Larry. I'm here.
I'm glad you're here, Terry. Thanks for being here. We love you. Okay, so it's good. All right. Are you in a cell phone or what? Where are you?
Well, Larry, I am on a cell phone, and I'm trying to be in just as quiet of a place as I can and make this work today.
Well, you're going to make it work. Where are you today, if I may ask?
Well, I am in Dallas. Had some canceled flights last night and left Chicago at 5 a.m. this morning. Trying to get home, Larry.
Oh, where you heading home to?
To West Texas. Abilene is where I'm going.
Oh, jeez. Well, good luck, Terry. That's no fun. What was the cause of the cancellation of the flight? Why did they cancel that flight, Terry?
It was weather. So, now just trying to get that last leg and get all that straightened out. So I'm here, though.
Good. And get home safely. And what time's your flight? What time's your flight going to happen now?
Well, now I'm trying to get a car. So planes, trains, and automobiles.
Good luck. Okay, that's all I can tell you. Travel's less fun than it used to be. I got to tell you. Okay. Well, let's go to the car. Are you okay to do the show? You okay to do the show today? Or you're too frazzled?
Well, you know what? I'm assuming we're not live right now.
We are, but that's okay.
Oh, we are live. People are listening in. I'm okay to do the show. I'll just sit here and we'll chat. And if my car comes along, then I'll let you know.
Good enough. And don't you worry about that happens. You let me know. We can always reschedule for later. Okay, so don't you worry about that. We want to get you home and get you home safe. Okay, and I mean that sincerely, your old friend. Okay, October, which we're now at the end of October now. Happy Halloween, by the way. Okay, and I hope you get home before Halloween. Okay, October is Dyslexia Awareness Month. All right, and what we want to talk about today, Terry, and I know this is important to you, is understanding brain-based learning, and this is neuroscience, and we're going to find out what's the real experience of how kids with dyslexia read. And I think that's really a great subject. I know you're an expert on it. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. How are we doing on literacy in America these days? Okay, how many kids in this country, what percentage, so to speak, are dyslexic? Okay, and how many teachers know how to teach these kids? Now, there you go, Tara. Go for it.
All right, you set me up on that one. So
I did.
We're not doing as good at literacy as we should be. We are making huge strides. Love the fact that we're making huge strides, huge science of reading movement, understanding how that brain learns to read with word recognition and language development. So, we're on our way. About 20% of any given population is dyslexic.
Wow.
We've got some issues with identification. We've got some issues with getting enough educator knowledge to be able to provide structured literacy for these students. So we're making strides. We're not where we need to be, but we are beginning to make strides as a nation.
And 20% is a lot. I mean, any number of kids. You don't want any kids that have challenges, but 20% of kids being dyslexic or having some sort of dyslexic challenge, that's a big number. Okay? That's a big number. And let me ask you, and let me ask this, okay? And how do I want to say this properly? A lot of this is going to fall, and correct me if I'm wrong, Terry, but a lot of this falls on elementary school teachers who teach kids to read. All right? And how are we doing? 20%, you go into a class, 20% of your class is dyslexic. You got to know what you're doing. Okay? And it's hard to find special educators these days. I mean, it's a struggle out there to get personnel in that field. All right? So how are we doing in teaching teachers how to teach kids to read if the kids have dyslexia? How are we doing on that? Take it into the higher ed category there, Terry.
Yeah, so, obviously tiered intervention and special ed teachers, learning specialists, dyslexia therapists, we've got a lot of those individuals. But honestly, it needs to start in Tier 1 instruction. We need good Tier 1 instruction with those general educators. And unfortunately, our teacher prep programs have not prepared them well enough that when they step into the classroom that they have that training, they have that expertise to be able to provide that good first tier instruction. That's really where we need to start. We don't need to do, let's just reserve this for a specialist down the hallway. Those kids need to be getting good first tier instruction.
They do. And when you talk about, we mentioned this phrase a minute ago, brain-based learning, and we're talking about how kids with dyslexia read. How do they read? Okay, is there a way to tell that? How do they read? What is their brain doing? What is their brain doing that my brain is not doing? Or their brain is, What's going on?
We all learn to read the same way. We all learn to read the same way, and that is a myth, that people are wired differently in reading. That's not true. We're all wired the same way. What happens, though, for students with dyslexia is that we've got to do more work to create that neural networking that is required to move throughout the brain, moving from our visual word form area up to that sound area in our brain, moving over to meaning. And it takes a lot of routing, and practice for kids with dyslexia. The misnomer is that dyslexic kids learn to read differently. No, the science doesn't prove that. The science says all brains learn to read the same way. We just need to provide more opportunity for kids that need that explicit teaching that routes that brain the way it needs to happen for reading.
That's a great analogy. It's a rerouting thing. We all want to get to the same place. We all can, but occasionally there's some bad, 20% of the time or so, there's some bad roads. And we got to figure out another way to route in. Is that basically what we're talking about?
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. And you hit on something, too, as far as understanding what kids need. They need explicit systematic instruction for decoding our language, but they also need language comprehension, understanding words, vocabulary development. So building on that, having both of that, it's not just, let's just phonics all the way, all day. It is building in opportunities for oral language, turn and talks with our kids, language development, background knowledge. We got to have both.
We really do. And if you do all this, if you do this right at the very beginning, okay, and this is going to be an odd way to say it, can we conquer the dyslexic challenge? I mean, is there a way to, and I'll say it this way, get rid of dyslexia by teaching the kids properly? I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but help me out. You know what I mean. Yeah,
I know what you mean, exactly. You know what you're going to do? You're going to ameliorate some of the challenges that come along with it by providing that good first-tier instruction, intensive intervention and supports, if that's what's required for somebody that might need more of that. Dyslexia is a spectrum, just like many other things that we know. Autism is a spectrum. And so
thank you for saying that.
What'll happen is that good first-year instruction is going to ameliorate some of those problems that come along with dyslexia. Now, students with dyslexia, all other kinds of things come into play, and, maybe even directionality. which way is left, which way is right, things like that. So good first-year instruction, teacher knowledge on what to do for students. There's a lot of social, emotional aspects that come along with it too.
Yeah.
Not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy. I can't read, other kids can. So, a lot of things to tend to.
It really, and I just want to ask this, is dyslexia, you just said the figuring out right from left and that sort of thing, okay? But is dyslexia, how do I want to say this? Is it a reading challenge? Where does it sit? Is it strictly reading, or do we take it into other things? Dyslexia.
Yeah, just like I mentioned, it kind of goes into other areas as well.
Yeah, there's a spectrum. So you can, let me ask you this way. If you have trouble telling left from right as quickly as possible, but you are an excellent reader, could you still be dyslexic?
No, that's not the way that works. It's all around spatial. There's research now that's happening that says that lots of other things are starting to come in at that spatialization of letters and things like that.
It's so complicated and so important, and we have to make sure teachers are very well aware of it. And speaking of that, Learning Ally, thank you, Learning Ally, my good friends. Okay, hello, Alyssa, etc. Okay, you guys, you have the podcast. Okay, your Spotlight on Dyslexia from them, and you also have a conference, the Spotlight on Dyslexia conference, which I believe you just had or had a month or so ago. What did you talk about when you? What's new? What's the cutting edge stuff that everybody needs to know about?
Well, I was kind of going there. Dr. Stanislaus Dehaene, who is a
you have to wait till you rent a car. Well, you're waiting for a rent a car to go there, so that's cool. So go ahead. Yeah.
Dr. Stanislaus Dehaene, who is a world-renowned cognitive neuroscientist, he's a guy that puts the little probes on little brains and puts them in an fMRI scanner and really understands and studies this stuff. So Dr. Dehaene was our keynote speaker, and he started to lean into the research around dyslexia, showing that there are so many nuances and intricacies of what we understand dyslexia to be. Yeah.
Are you there?
So go on, right?
No,
I'm
go
here,
on.
Yeah, very interesting stuff. And so Dr. Jason Yateman out of California, they are really starting to dig in, just like I talked about, even letter spacing or letter transfer, things like that. Of course, component is, a very primary thing that's happening for students with dyslexia.
Are we talking neuroscience here? Is that what we're talking about?
Oh my goodness, yes, we're talking neuroscience here.
Wow, so I have to ask this, okay? When you talk about dyslexia, okay?
Yeah.
We think of that as if I may, an educational subject. It falls mostly on teachers. Correct me if I'm wrong, but dyslexia seems to
you're
fall.
Right.
Okay, but teachers, this is important, are not neuroscientists. Okay, so how is the neuroscience translating to what educators need to teach these kids? Where are we on that?
Yeah. Another big issue, and what is it doing to what you talked about before, is getting into the hands of our folks in higher ed that we're training our teachers correctly when they go into the classroom. So, we're not where we need to be. Once again, that is something that us as a society need to work on. Even the simple fact of these research, the work of Dr. Stanislaus Dehaene, which is incredible. The way our system is set up is that his research is behind walls and behind gates, and it is a very high rigorous amount of reading to do if you were to read some of the research articles that he and colleagues and others are doing. And, it's there's a barrier right now. There is a barrier between research to practice. We've heard that for so long.
Yeah, exactly. And well, we did a COVID vaccine in a year, and we got that out there. Okay, there's no reason for the delay. And, as I said, and, at least the COVID vaccine, if I may use that as a lousy example, it got right into the hands of doctors, okay, and professionals who could give you the vaccine if you wanted the vaccine, okay? And, and, we got to get the research and the products into the hands of educators. Okay, it's that simple, and that seems to be where the gap is. And on that note, put Learning Ally into all this. Okay, what are you guys doing regarding all of these kind of things? And I know you have tons of information out there, but you also have tons of products. Okay, just talk about that.
Well, you brought it up already.
Be shameless. Give my good friends a plug. Yeah.
Well, that is Spotlight on Dyslexia. So Spotlight on Dyslexia is a virtual conference that we have hosted for the past 8 years. We're moving into our 9th year of June of 2024. And
Yay.
I mean, we're putting folks like Dr. Stanislav Dehaene, one of the greatest researchers of our time.
You loved him. You said it 3 times. Yeah.
There I do. He is there.
Yeah, you do.
He is accessible. He is presenting the newest research right there in front of our teachers. Our teachers are there. It's not just him. I mean, last year we had over 50 people presenting at that virtual online conference.
Wow.
The community of educators that come together and then hear the presentations, but then ask questions and each other and probe a little bit more and get curious and begin to synthesize information. We've had so many people say we take it back, we play these over and over for professional learning moments. So the Spotlight on Dyslexia, first of all, it's so accessible for teachers. And secondly, it's, you go to a live conference and there's 8 sessions to choose from in a breakout moment. I can only go to one. I can't divide myself 8 times. But here at Spotlight on Dyslexia, it's all recorded. You get to go back in, watch, rewatch. And for adult learning, what we know is just an immediate single, I listen to it, I might take a nugget or two, but when I can truly listen and rewatch and hone in and talk to a colleague in this community of learners that we have, that's where the real change starts to happen.
And, you said something that was so important. Adults learn differently than kids. Adults learn differently than kids, and I'm glad you guys recognize that and do what you need to do. And you're right, you can't just divide yourself into 8 different things. Okay, you're absolutely right. Are the conferences still up on learningally.org? Are they all still there?
Yeah.
I have a couple of them linked.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, they absolutely are. Can still get access. Our one from last June is available until the end of December. And then we're, there we go. We're about to prep for next year, getting, our speakers, all of that, we're big on community. We are so big on the community aspect that getting people involved, not only just teachers, our staff. This is a learning moment for our staff as well.
Yep. It's really cool. And I have to ask you, then this is more of an anecdotal question, okay? But you work with school districts all over the place, and you go all over the place. And you said at the beginning quote of our show today, we're making great strides, and I believe we are. All right, and it's always exciting to get the new information out there and all that. But as you go from school district to school district, Terry, what's your feeling? Are we doing? How do I want to say this? Is every school district doing what it needs to do? Is the information disseminated out there? Do you feel like we're all at the same place? I don't know how to ask the question, but I think you know what I mean. Yeah.
I do know what you mean, and the answer is no. No, school districts are not at the same place, but we also have to understand that the regionality of what's happening, the state legislation that's going on in states, and that has big impact on what's happening in classrooms, because the minute that a state state legislation, a new motion, a new law, a new something gets enacted, then that changes what's going on with our schools. I know there are superintendents and principals across the country right now that are feeling a little bit overwhelmed by new legislation and how they are going to go through. Some schools need an entire philosophical change on the way we teach reading. They
well, the reading wars these days. Yep.
Well, we don't talk reading wars. We talk reading revolution. That's what.
Thank you.
That's
okay,
what we're
good.
about.
I like it.
Yeah. Reading revolution. That's where we want to go. And some schools are still in a moment of not catching on to that science of reading, of understanding the way that our brains learn to read, and so they've got a little bit more work to do. And philosophical changes are hard because you're telling me I'm supposed to believe something new that I've believed all my life was right, and now you're telling me it was wrong? Yeah,
it's hard. It's really hard. But how does I'm going to let you go in a few minutes, but I'm just curious. All the quote controversy, science of reading. The old methods, the new methods, Lucy Hankins. You can write down a whole list. Okay. How does that affect reading for dyslexics? What's the way to go for dyslexic? And I have to say something. When you were talking about little schools, there's not a principal or a teacher who doesn't want every kid to learn how to read. I mean, every single teacher, that's what they want. Okay, they have to be aware. And you got to get the information out there. And what do you think on all that?
Well, here, like I said at the very top of the show, is what's good for a student with dyslexia is good for all kids. Not to the same intensity. We need to distinguish. It doesn't mean that there's many 5-year-olds that walk into a kindergarten classroom and they are readers. And it's like, well, how did that happen? I don't know how that happened. They're readers. But what we need to be able to understand and do with our screeners and our diagnostic assessments is how to target our students, particularly those with dyslexia, identify risk as early as possible, and then provide that direct, explicit, systematic instruction that the majority of your students in the classroom are going to need. And so it's not different. It is, let's identify early, let's get direct, systematic, and good tier 1 instruction, and then intensify that for our students with dyslexia. So that's where we need to go.
Good stuff, Terry, and you're absolutely right. Sometimes there is a rockier road for some kids. You just have to go slower and adjust. Okay, and I think it's easier with all the products that are out there today that are adaptable to different reading levels, et cetera, et cetera. And AI's coming down. Actually, I should ask you that. AI and dyslexia, real quick. Anything?
Oh, my goodness. I wish I had an answer for you. I'm going to tell you.
You don't have to yet.
I don't know. I'm baffled a little bit. I can see some good in AI, but I can also see it's a slippery slope. So I don't have a good answer. But
that's for sure.
But Larry, I do. If you're going to say, hey, tout the things that we do, then I'm going to tout the Learning Ally audiobook solution. We've talked about our conferences, but the audiobook solution. Yeah. I liken it to, it's that little gem. It's that little gem that sometimes you don't think about because I'm worried about curriculum. I don't think about because it's this extra thing sometimes. But it has significant power when students understand that oh my goodness, I can listen to a book and read a book and understand the story and be exposed to novel words, unique words. And the Learning Ally audiobook solution has truly changed lives.
I am glad you brought that up. I'm going to let you go. You drive safe to Abilene. Promise? How long a drive is it?
Oh, my goodness.
How long a drive is it?
It's about 3 hours.
That's not
It's
too
about
bad.
3 hours, so it'll be good. Thank you for giving me the grace today to have a little bit of background noise, but I got into my car. I'm good to go.
Milady, you are good literally and figuratively. Okay, you are good to go. Thanks for being with us today, Taryn. When you get home, have a cup of tea and relax, or a martini of your choice, whichever. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I love having Terry on the show. She is so knowledgeable. Our Learning Allies, good friends of ours, they have wonderful products. They're a 75-year-old company that's been working with kids with learning challenges. They are the nicest, best people, and they care. So please check it all out. I have it linked, but it's learningally.org. We'll archive at ace-ed.org. Go over there, see what we do. I'm Larry Jacobs. Thanks for listening.